depend on your family. You can't depend on your friends. You can't depend on no beginning. Well, now you can't depend on no end. You can't depend on intelligence. You can't depend on God. You can depend on the worst always happening. You need a busload of faith to get by. Hit it, babe. Busload of faith to get by. Busload of faith to get by. Busload of faith to get by. You need a busload of faith to get by. I didn't come up with the title. My wife Sylvia came up with that title. She said, why don't you just call it New York? That's what it's about. I said, right, that's what it's about. You can't depend on the goodly-hearted. Goodly-hearted made lampshades and soap. You can't depend on no sacrament. No Father, no Holy Ghost. You can't depend on no churches. Unless there's real estate that you want to buy. You can depend on the worst always happening. You need a busload of faith to get by. 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 You need a busload of faith to get by. You can't depend on no miracle. You can't depend on the air. You can't depend on no wise men. You can't find them though, 'cause they're not there. But you can't depend on cruelty. Crudity of thought and sound. You can depend on the worst always happening. You need a busload of faith, baby, to get by. Hit it, baby. Busload of faith, get by. Busload of faith to get by. Busload of faith to get by. Busload of faith to get by. I don't know why I write what I write. I mean, things have been pointed out to me by other people. They said, you know, remember when you were writing that, all the beaches were closed. That's when there was the heat wave and all the stuff was washing up on the beach, which is happening now again, depressingly enough. That was going on. There was a lot of things going on. Whoa. Oh. Blacks with knives and whites with clubs, fighting at Howard Beach. There's no such thing as human rights when you walk the New York streets. A cop was shot in the head by a 10-year-old kid named Boot in Central Park last week. The fathers and daughters lined up by the coffins by the statue of bigotry. Hey, you better hold on. Something happening here. You better hold on. Well, I'll meet you at Tompkins Square. The dopest sent a message to the cops last week and they shot him in the car where he sat. And Eleanor Bumpers and Michael Stewart must have appreciated that. There's a rampaging rage rising up like a plague of bloody vials washing up on the beach. It'll take more than the Angels or Iron Mike Tyson to heal this bloody bridge. Hey, hey, you better hold on. Or something's happening here. You better hold on. I'm gonna meet you in Tompkins Square.
The album has a feeling of like an anonymous observer of the city.
Anonymous?
Yeah, kind of someone who's just able to...
With my name on the album?
No. What I mean, just the perspective, you're not imposing yourself on it. All that in some of the songs, they're like short stories.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, is it difficult for you as a famous New York figure, you know, to kind of move around the city without, you know, just experiencing without being bothered by people?
Oh, see, I never thought of myself as a famous New York figure.
You know, not even a dot, really. I mean, nobody's famous in New York. Nobody. You know, nobody really looks twice at you in New York. And I go around a whole bunch of places. I like to eavesdrop or get in conversations with different people, particularly if they don't know who I am. And sometimes when they do, they tell me stories. I just like to listen a lot.
What about the news? Because some of the album is like closer to is like film or like watching television. I mean, there's certain images coming very fast. Is that something that you do a lot?
Well, in writing, you have, you know, especially in a song where odds are you're probably not going to go past 5 minutes. I mean, the Velvet Underground, of course, we went 17, but then we read the copyright laws. Anyway, so, you know, you've got X amount of time, and in the lyrics, I mean, some of the writers that I really like, I mean, I like when you're given an image that you can see and feel really quickly, and you can just, bam, you're there. Because there's not that much time, and I like it when there's just something I can put in there that lets you see it the way I'm seeing it, and then you fill in all the rest of it.
There's a downtown fair singing out Proud Mary as she cruises Christopher Street. And some southern queen is acting loud and mean where the docks and the Badlands meet. This Halloween is something to be sure, especially to be here without you.
And what is your name?
Mary Harron.
Hi,
Candy Van Degen.
And your name is?
Who am I? Cookie. I'm Cookie Van Degen. This is my sister Trixie Van Degen. Say hi, Trixie.
Say hi.
Say hi.
Hi, how you doing, Dave? Oh, it's so nice to be here with my girlfriend.
Did you get Babette? Babette's down at there.
Yeah, I'm Babette Van Degen. Babette Van Degen? Yes, I'm a showgirl. Can't you tell? I know Joan Crawford. I believe it. I do. Are you girls having fun tonight? Oh, we are, absolutely. We just got here. We plan on having a wonderful time this Halloween. And where have you been?
There's a Greta Garbo and an Alfred Hitchcock and some black Jamaican stud. There's 5 Cinderellas and some leather drags. I almost fell into my mug. There's a Crawford Davis and a tacky Cary Grant. And some homeboys looking for trouble down here from the Bronx. But there ain't no Harry and no Virgin Mary. You won't hear those voices again. And Johnny Rio and Rotten Rita, you never see those faces again. This Halloween is something to be sure, especially to be here without you.
It's quite demanding, isn't it, bringing a literary quality to a rock and roll song? Isn't it? I mean,
Well, that's been my goal. That's been my goal. That's what I really wanted to do with it. Almost for a selfish reason, so I could have something to listen to, because I can't really listen to the other stuff very, very long. I mean, it has its place, and I really like a lot of it. And half my mind is taken up with old rock and roll lyrics, as opposed to what I studied in school. It's kind of strange. I don't understand that either. But there should be room for a slightly different approach to it.
I mean, there were no real models, were there? I mean, when you started, or even continuing to write this kind of lyric, and you haven't gone into operatic formats, really, have you? You've kept
3 chords. What I really liked about rock and roll when I started out, I was always working in bar bands since I was 14. You know, I was like always the youngest one there, and you know, they'd have to like sneak me in or have phony, what we call phony proof of age and stuff like this. And then right through college, working in bar bands. And what I liked about it at the beginning was anybody could play it. And anybody could play a Lou Reed song. I mean, even if you couldn't play guitar, somebody could sit you down. You ought to be able to play it in about, let's say it was hard, a half hour. You ought to be able to play it. It's a great democratic medium. I really like that about it. But I think there's like more things that can be done with it. I mean, some of my songs only have 1 chord. I mean, so anybody can really play it. And if you hit the guitar with a hammer, you ought to be able to play it.
your lyrics also, they're although what they're saying is very complex, they have a tone that's conversational often, the sound of someone's voice speaking. Isn't that quite hard to get within a song, within a rock and roll song?
Well, I'll tell you, if I could have sung like Otis, this could be might have been a whole other thing, but for the way I sing, and some people say I don't, that there's a certain number of notes that I have. And the other thing behind it was that I want you very much to feel as though someone's sitting right next to you telling you something, you know, very intimate, very real. You've got to believe that it's real. If you don't believe that it's real, you'll tune out of it. So it has to have a conversational tone, generally speaking, and sound like it's real.
They say he didn't have an enemy. His was a greatness to behold. He was the last surviving progeny, the last one on this side of the world. Measured half a mile from tip to tail, silver and gold with powerful fins. They say he could break a mountain in two. That's how he got the Grand Canyon. Last great American whale. Last great American whale. Last great American whale. Last great American whale. Some they say they saw him off the Great Lakes. Some say they saw him off the coast of Florida. My mother said she saw him in Chinatown. But you can't always trust your mother.
It's not easy to write a successful song about a whale or about ecology.
Especially a whale a half mile long. Now, what if he doesn't like it?
Last great American whale. Last great American whale. Last great American whale. Last great American whale. Well, Americans don't care for much of anything. Land and water the least. Animal life is low on the totem pole, and human life is not worth much more than infected yeast. Well, Americans don't care too much for beauty. They'll shit in a river and dump battery acid in a stream. They'll watch dead rats wash up on the beaches, complain if they can't swim. Americans don't care for much of anything. They say things are done for the majority. Don't believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. It's just like what my painter friend Donald said to me. Stick a fork in their ass and turn them over, they're done.
As far as writing and things, I was always struck by some of the things Delmore Schwartz wrote and some of the things Raymond Chandler wrote. I mean, the use of image, the simplicity of the language. There's no, generally speaking, there aren't any words that aren't generally available to anyone floating around. So that's, you don't have to have a PhD in English to go write this. That wasn't the contributing factor. It was the actual use of the words, the rhythm of the words, the sound, and the beauty of them. And part of what I am really into is I get a lot of pleasure out of just the words, the use of the words. Like in Romeo Had Juliet, caught between the twisted stars, the plotted lines, the faulty map that brought Columbus to New York. I really like that. It's like, I look at it you know, because I wrote it, but...
The piano, winner of this year's RIBA Gold Medal. Good night.